Imagine being trapped in a lethal trap. Every move watched, every breath hunted. This is the reality for a Russian brigade caught deep inside a deadly kill zone, relentlessly hunted by Ukrainian drones. No escape, no mercy, only survival against a ruthless, high-tech battlefield. This is the future of war. Fast, brutal, and unforgiving. Stay with us to witness the full story from the front lines. The silence wasn't peace, it was the heavy breath before a storm of destruction. In the darkest hours before dawn, under a leaden sky that refused to yield to the sun, a young Ukrainian scout pressed his cheek to the cold earth. His ears strained, catching the distant, ominous roar of heavy machines grinding through the mud. The sound grew, relentless and steady, a monstrous rumble of steel tracks and roaring engines. This wasn't just a patrol. It was a tank convoy, inching closer with grim purpose. His heart hammered, instincts flaring like wildfire. Without a second thought, he sprinted, boots sinking deep in the soggy ground, his breath ragged but his mind sharp. Bursting into the command post, he gasped the warning. Armored unit approaching, coordinates ready. The commander's voice cut through the tension. Deploy the drones. Now! This was the moment they had been bracing for. The sky would answer with lethal wings. Inside the cramped operations room, drone pilots snapped to attention. Laptop screens flickered alive, joysticks gripped like lifelines. FPV drones hummed to life, launching one after another into the murky dawn sky. Metal wings slicing through. The chill air, each drone locked on the same target, the advancing Russian armored units pushing with heavy artillery pounding ahead, trying to suppress any sign of Ukrainian resistance. The Russians were not reckless. Their assault was a calculated siege, artillery hammering trenches, tanks rolling with brutal intent, hell-bent on breaking through the line and seizing the village beyond. But they hadn't factored in the relentless vigilance of Ukraine's drone operators. The first drone darted low, weaving through the skeletons of bombed-out houses and tangled power lines. It zeroed in on a target, a Russian tank, but the initial strike was weak, barely scratching the armor. Still, the message was clear. We see you, we're here. Then chaos erupted. The second drone struck true, bursting into the tank's turret with fire. The third crippled another by shattering its tracks, leaving it spinning helplessly in the mud. The fourth pierced the hull, sending metal fragments flying. The massive machines groaned and faltered, each strike a nail hammered into the coffin of the Russian assault. The convoy scrambled for order. One tank careened off the road, crashing into a collapsed barn at the village's edge. Panic spread like wildfire. Soldiers poured out, weapons raised, eyes wild with fear. Some fled toward the dense forest, others huddled behind ruined walls, desperately seeking cover. But the skies betrayed them. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones recorded every frantic step. Thermal cameras traced their heat signatures like bloodhounds. One drone spotted 4 soldiers clustered near a shattered house. An FPV kamikaze drone roared to life, cutting a deadly arc through the sky. Shots rang out as a desperate soldier fired wildly upward too late. The drone slammed into its target. With a thunderous explosion, silencing screams and shattering any hope of escape, the battlefield felt eerily quiet once more. Inside the ruins, a lone Russian soldier took a shaky breath, convinced the broken house walls would shield him. He had survived the first wave of drone strikes. Maybe luck was on his side. But luck in this war was a cruel illusion. A faint buzzing returned to the drone. He fired twice, wild and frantic. Both shots missed. He dove back into the rubble, unaware that the fortified walls sealed his fate. No exit, no escape. The drone slipped inside, camera eyes watching, recording every detail, the moment of the blast, the rising dust, the silence that followed. His final breath became a scream etched into memory. Elsewhere, 3 more Russian soldiers hid in a cracked building. The walls shook as Ukrainian operators unleashed a barrage of drone strikes. 1, 2, 3 impacts. The structure crumbled, like ice under heat, burying the enemy under a mountain of rubble. Amidst the relentless assault, a brief moment of levity surfaced. A drone operator cracked a joke over the radio, his humor a fragile spark in the darkness. Thousands watching online smiled, reminded of the thin thread between life and death, but no time to rest. The battlefield demanded full focus. Ukraine unleashed its secret weapon, Baba Yaga, a heavy drone-packing mortar shells. Named for the witch of Slavic legend, it was the psychological hammer breaking Russian morale. The target was locked. The drone ascended, releasing a shell that spiraled down in slow motion, captured live on camera, before detonating with a violent roar. A Russian soldier scrambled out of his shelter, panic-stricken, and dashed across the open field toward the forest, but the drone circled above, unrelenting. As he sprinted the last 50 meters, shadows swallowing the trees, the drone descended, finishing the deadly chase. Before dawn had fully broken, the sky hung heavy and gray, refusing to yield to the sun. A young Ukrainian scout pressed his face into the cold, damp earth, his breath shallow, ears straining to catch every sound. Then, through the silence came a deep, steady rumble, distant but growing, slow and relentless. Not just any patrol. This was a tank convoy. The ground trembled beneath their approach, his body tensed. Without thinking, he sprang to his feet, boots sinking into the thick mud as he sprinted toward the command post. The cold morning air bit at his skin, wind cutting like a blade as he dashed between trenches. Panting, he reached the commander, voice sharp and urgent. Armored unit approaching. Coordinates are locked. The commander's eyes hardened. Take to the skies now. Take a fella. Giga drone operators didn't hesitate. Laptops snapped open, fingers gripped controls with practiced precision. One by one, FPV drones tore into the dim sky, their metallic wings slicing through cold air. All eyes locked on the incoming Russian armored columns, but the enemy's advance was no reckless charge. Artillery boomed ahead, raining shells to suppress any sign of life from Ukrainian trenches. Their mission was clear: break the line, sweep through the village, and crush resistance. Yet, the Russians hadn't factored in one thing: the drones didn't fear death. They came with speed, striking before the enemy could react. The first drone darted low, skimming power lines and shattered rooftops, closing in on the lead tank. Its explosion was small, a warning shot. The message was clear: we are here. Then the storm hit. The second drone's payload found the turret. Fire erupted, licking metal like angry flames. The third tore through tracks, trapping the tank in a deadly spin. The fourth breached the hull, and with each strike, colossal machines began to falter, chaos rippling through the convoy. In panic, one armored vehicle veered sharply, crashing into a collapsed barn at the village's edge. Soldiers spilled out, weapons ready, but fear raw in their eyes. Some fled toward the nearby forest. Others hid behind crumbling walls. But they were being watched. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones hovered silently, recording every desperate move. Thermal cameras lit up the fleeing soldiers' hot trails like blood on snow. 4 men clustered near a ruined house caught a drone's eye. Almost instantly, an FPV kamikaze drone surged upward. A soldier fired wildly at the buzzing threat, shots tearing through the air, but too late. The drone was already on target. A brutal explosion shattered the tense silence. But this was only the beginning. Inside a battered home, a lone Russian soldier dared a breath of relief. The walls were breached, roofs caved in, but still, he thought himself safe. He whispered to himself, "Maybe I'm lucky." Then he heard the faint buzzing again. The drone had returned. 2 frantic shots rang out, both missing. He dove into the rubble, heart hammering, unaware he'd just entered a trap. The walls, thick and reinforced, sealed his fate. The drone slipped inside with deadly precision. Its camera captured everything: the moment of detonation, the dust settling, the silence that followed. His last breath was a scream, a final echo in the cold dawn. His death revealed the hiding places of his comrades. The drone tracked heat and sound alike. Soon, 3 more soldiers cowered in a cracked building nearby. 1, 2, 3 drone strikes brought down their refuge. Walls crumbled. Roofs collapsed. In the midst of the carnage, an operator cracked a rare joke over the radio, breaking the tension like a fragile thread. Thousands watching on live feeds smiled. War was cruel, but life and laughter somehow persisted. Now, a heavier drone entered the fray. Nicknamed Baba Yaga, it carried mortar shells powerful enough to break not just machines but minds. The target was locked. The drone soared, releasing its deadly cargo. The shell descended slowly, then detonated with violent fury. A Russian soldier in a nearby shelter panicked, bursting out into the open. He sprinted toward the dark forest. The cold grass slicked beneath his feet. But above, Baba Yaga circled. Relentless, the drone hunted him down, descending in a swift, merciless strike. Not far away, others had fled into the woods. One lay still beneath a tree, hoping to disappear into the shadows. But the thermal camera betrayed him, a glowing heat signature in the cold. No escape. Within seconds, silence returned to the forest. Meanwhile, Ukrainian ground troops prepared their advance. Artillery fire ceased. From the trenches, soldiers rose like ghosts, moving cautiously through the tall grass, every footstep a gamble, a rustle from behind a bush. Instincts sharpened. A signal passed. Silence. A Russian soldier appeared, weapon raised, but the Ukrainians were faster. A split-second exchange sealed his fate. Still, one enemy remained unaccounted for. The drone swept the open field, searching. The last soldier had run far, but exhaustion and empty ammo caught him. Alone, defeated, he raised his hands in surrender. His choice spared his life. One day, he might walk free again, but the scars of this night would never fade. The sky belonged to Ukraine's unmanned eyes now. Drones illuminated the darkness like stars of vengeance, scanning every shadow, tracking every heartbeat. In an old factory on the village's edge, the last Russian soldiers took refuge, a final desperate stand. But the drone saw all. Communication crackled as Ukrainian units closed in. The factory was a trap. Suddenly, light flooded the area, drones casting harsh shadows, revealing every twitch and breath. Commandos took their positions behind sandbags, hearts pounding. The first explosion shattered the factory doors, followed by a series of deafening blasts. Russian defenders fired back, but they were outmatched. Figures moved like shadows, deadly and silent, weaving through the chaos. The commander's voice cut through the radio. "Advance! Neutralize all targets!" Russian soldier aimed his rifle, but a quiet step behind him sealed his fate. The commando was already there. One swift move, and the threat was gone. The factory became a graveyard. The battle was brutal but brief. Finally, white flags rose. The survivors emerged, hands raised. But this night was more than a victory. It was a glimpse into the future, where man and machine converge on the battlefield. The drone operators' voices echoed over the radio, tired but proud. Mission accomplished. This is just the beginning. A new dawn crept over the horizon. Hope surged in hearts worn raw by conflict. And somewhere in the endless sky, the memory of this battle was etched into machines that never forget. This is the new face of war, fast, mobile, and ruthless. If you stand with Ukraine's defenders and want to hear more real stories from the frontline, stories of bravery, sacrifice, and resilience, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every Voice counts in spreading the truth and honoring those who fight for freedom. Together, we keep the light alive. Stay vigilant. Slava Ukraini!